2, 1. Let's go. Welcome to the Fiction Addiction Podcast, a podcast where we go one-on-one with fiction creators, such as authors, filmmakers, actors, songwriters, and more. Each episode, we get the inside scoop on our guests' creative process, the ups and downs of their industries, and our guests also give out tips and tricks that help them become successful. And now, let's jump into the episode with your host, Chris C.L. Lowry.
All right. Welcome back to the Fiction Addiction Podcast. My next guest loves to write, whether it's writing fiction or nonfiction. She has written 2 novels, Dreamtini and Dreamtini II, The Reality. She also allows her readers to get to know her through her nonfiction works, which are titled Pieces of Me and Simply Me, where she shares her most intimate feelings and thoughts. When she is not writing, she is learning about the newest Lego sets and characters being taught to her by her 2 sons. Ladies and gentlemen, Arnittress Dowdy. Arnittress, what is going on?
Nothing. I'm just chilling, relaxing.
There we go. First and foremost, I'm going to start it off like I start off with everyone. 2020 has been
What a year.
the most unpredictable year ever. So much going on, from the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic to the continuation of racism, social injustice that seemed to explode this year. So many people are dying at the hands of the police, both former and current. So how are you managing through everything that's going on?
I'm just really trying to maintain. I have 2 younger boys, so, my thoughts are always with them, hoping that things will get better. It's just a crazy time right now. It just really is.
Absolutely. So you mentioned you had 2 boys. Have you did you have to go through the homeschooling with them?
Yes.
The pandemic first hit? How's that been?
I've been blessed to have, help. So, they've been homeschooling with their grandmother.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's hard because, for them, they miss their friends. They want to get back to school. They want to do,
Right.
activities. And so it's just, like I said, it's a crazy time and it's also hard. And now, we got to worry about the school year, the upcoming school year, whether or not they're going to be in school or if they're going to be homeschooled.
Right. I know it's so crazy because so many cities, so many states are so different on their stance. You know what I mean? Some people are opening back up, some people aren't. It's just so weird. It's so unpredictable right now for everybody.
Yeah, it is. They the school district that my kids are in, they actually sent out a survey wanting to know what the parents wanted to do. I live outside of the city, and in the city they're going to have days where the kids go in 3 days a week and then they're homeschooled the other 2 and switch it up. But where I live, they're still trying to figure it out.
And they running out of time. They don't got that much time left.
Yeah. They really don't.
Right.
August is just next week.
Literally.
It is just next week.
So how has the pandemic affected you as a business owner, as an author?
I've gotten a lot more writing done. I've had to get creative with things. Right now, I created a couple of T-shirts that say author, give the definition of author. Another T-shirt that says authoress. Another T-shirt that says writer, and notebooks that have either writer on the cover or author on the cover. So it's like you have to get kind of more creative and kind of crafty.
Right.
You got to come up with ways to sell it, to still sell yourself. But luckily,
Absolutely.
With COVID, the good thing about COVID, a lot of people have been reading.
Yeah.
Amazon
Yes,
is still out there. So that's the upside. You know, people are still reading and people are still interested, but you know, to keep them interested, you got to work at it. You still have to work at it, come up with different ways to get them.
Right. And that was actually surprising. Like people, it was like they were running out of TV shows to watch. So then everybody,
Yeah.
literally so many people started running back to the books, which was definitely, like you said, like definitely a good thing.
I think we've all watched everything on Netflix. We've all watched everything on Amazon.
Twice.
I know I have. Yeah. To the point to where, you know, you can say the lines with the actors.
Right. You just need something so different from what's going on in there. So when did your writing journey begin?
It began actually when I was about 9.
Mm.
I had a brother that passed away, and in order for me to kind of get my feelings out, I wrote about it, and from there I just kept on writing. I kept on writing, and then you know I wrote poetry first. I started writing poetry first, and then I got comfortable around I say 97, 98 with sharing my poetry with other people because I would write it and just keep it to myself.
Right.
I wouldn't share it. And then once I started to share it, and people were just like, "Oh, I went through that same experience, and this is how I got through it." And it kind of, you know, started a line of communication. And so it was like, well, since people are talking back and responding really good to these poems, why not try to get them published?
Mm.
And around 2000, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to find a publisher to see if I can get it try to see if I can get my poems published. I found a publisher. They were like, "Oh, we loved how you wrote this. We love how you said this, and we want to publish you, but we want to publish you for X amount of dollars."
Mm.
And at that time, I didn't know anything about the publishing industry. I just thought you submit, and then you know, you get published.
Right.
And so I was just like, you know what? Cool. I signed and I sent them the first payment. But then I was just like, you know what? Since I'm doing this, let me educate myself. And so I started to, you know, read up on publishing. And then I read with poetry, if I wasn't like Maya Angelou or Sonia Sanchez, I wouldn't be able to sell my poetry. I wouldn't be able to promote or market myself. And so it was just like, you know what? There has to be another way.
Mm.
I had wrote a short story, and I went back to that short story, and that short story ended up becoming Dreamtini.
Really?
Which was then it was then published in 2007. So from 2000 to about 2004, 5, I wrote and educated myself with the publishing industry. And then I went about it the correct way, which was querying different agents and publishers. I queried about 21 different agents and publishers altogether.
Wow.
Half said no. And then the other half were like, okay, we'll send in the synopsis in either the first 3 chapters or the synopsis in the full manuscript before they said no. Then I was just like, okay.
Wow.
There still has to be another way for me to do this. Absolutely. And so I started looking into the subsidiary publishing houses. And then I met someone who had experience with the houses that I was looking into. And they were just like, no, the cons outweighed the pros. And so they were just like, you know, here's this publishing house. They'll publish you for free. All you have to do is put your money into your marketing. And that's what I did. I ended up publishing Dreamtini for free. Mm. And I put my money into my marketing and promoting. And then, like I said, it was finally, the first edition was published in 2007. And as I was marketing and promoting that book, I got pregnant with my first son. And so it was just like, you know what? I'm going to have to put this on the back burner for a minute because, you know, I want to have, you know, I want to be a mom.
Right.
And so I became a mom twice. And throughout that whole entire time, I never stopped writing. I continued to write. And then 2016, I was just like, okay, it's time to get back out there. And so I republished Dreamtini. I brought it up to date. And then it called for a follow-up. The first edition, it called for a follow-up. So I already had the follow-up written.
Oh, really?
And then, yeah, I had the follow-up already written. And then 2018, I re-released Dreamtini.
I gotta go back a little bit. So whatever happened to that first company after you made that first payment?
So they were like, if you have, they would give you a refund. They would give you your money back. They would give you a percentage of your money back, depending on where you were in the contract or the publishing process. And when I discovered that I wouldn't be able to sell the poetry, I was past getting any money back.
Oh, wow.
So I had to chalk it. Even though it was a loss, I still chalked it up as a gain because I learned from that experience. And what I learned from that experience, I just applied it to the next round.
And so how did you handle those no's, those rejections once you start querying? And like you said, it was 21 agents and companies, and you started receiving those no's, some sooner than others. How did you handle those and then stay motivated, keep writing, and continue on this journey?
I just felt somebody was eventually going to say yes. So I just kept at it. And, they just said for me, it wasn't just a flat out no. It was like, no, not good for us at this time. Okay, well, it's not good for you at this time. Okay, so maybe a later time. But by then, I just started thinking, let me just go another route.
Right.
Somebody's going to say yes. Eventually, somebody's going to say yes. Eventually, somebody's going to say yes. That was always in my mind.
So once you were in a search, and you, like you said, you had the friend, you had the connection to that subsidiary publishing company. What were some of the cons that they mentioned to you?
It was more of, the marketing. They weren't going to, they say they were going to do something, but they don't follow through. It was more of, the marketing and the promoting. It's like, okay, you're paying them, but you still, in turn, you still have to, do the marketing and promoting, and they're not going to assist you in that. You have to kind of figure that out. So it's like, if I'm paying all this money, you should be at least helping me or, steering me in the direction of how I should market and promote my book.
You should do something.
I shouldn't have to. You should do something. I shouldn't have to figure that out on my own. So it's just like, well, since they're not going to do that, okay.
So where are you at now in your publishing?
If I can get this published for free, I published through KDP, which is through Amazon.
Solely independent now?
Solely independent.
What made you want to take that route instead of continuing the search for agents, continue the querying? Because like you said, it might have not been right for them at that time, but obviously it's years later. So what made you go to the completely independent route?
I have more control. I see my vision. I know what I want. And sometimes I might have a hard time expressing that to somebody else, but I get it. So for me to be able to do it by myself on my own, I can take my time. If I'm not ready, I don't have to put anything out. If I am ready, I can put whatever it is that I want out.
Exactly.
So it's like I have, complete control. And plus I'm not stuck with writing in just one genre. Like I said, I originally started writing poetry and I've always wanted my poems to be published. Doing it on my own, I can publish my poems.
Yes, you can. Did you always?
It's like I can publish what I want when I want.
Right. And how you want to.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it.
And how I want to, yeah.
Did you always
I'm working on my time and
right?
nobody else's time.
Absolutely. Did you always see a career in being an author, even when you were back attempting to get the poetry books published?
Not really,
Really?
no. Honestly, no. No, for me, I like to write. I enjoy writing. This is going to sound crazy. I like writing my name 100 times on a piece of paper. That's how much I enjoy. That's how much I enjoy writing.
That's crazy.
I keep journals. Like I enjoy writing. I never saw it as a career.
So what is it? What is it about writing? Like you said, just even writing your name. What is it about just putting that pen to the paper that gives you so much fulfillment?
For me, it's
Mm.
therapeutic. It's therapeutic for me. It's therapeutic. And it kind of, if I'm going through something, I can write about it, read it back to myself, let it marinate, and be like, this is what's going
Right.
on. Okay, so now I got to do this in order to do that. You know, it's therapeutic for me. It's my therapy.
So who are some of your favorite writers?
I love Terry McMillan.
Shout out to
Um,
Terry.
uh, Toni Morrison.
Mm.
Um, those two are my favorite. But then I have, I read different books. So I like Robert Greene. I love,
Yeah.
the 48 Powers of Law, the Art of Seduction.
Mm.
I love those books. Um, it's just, yeah, I just have favorite books. I really like Terry McMillan and Toni Morrison are my favorite authors, but like I really don't have everything is just like favorite books. I have more favorite books.
So what is like one of your goals when it comes to writing? 'Cause I know so many authors have different. It's interesting talking to different authors because there is so many different paths that they're on, so many different journeys. So give me one of your goals that you eventually are aiming for when it comes to writing?
I want to create my own TV show.
A TV show?
Yeah.
Damn. That's full. That's
Let me
all
go
out
back.
there.
Let me go back. Let me go back. So when I got all of those no's back, I questioned myself. I was just like, well, what is it that you really want to do as a writer? And I was like, eventually I want to write a movie or, create a TV show. And at that time, after after asking myself that question, a couple of days later, I kid you not, I got a catalog for a screenwriters expo in LA.
Oh,
I
wow.
flipped through that I flipped through that catalog. It looked as if I had that catalog for a whole year. You know when you fold a magazine and it
Yeah,
gets
you just
old?
up.
That and I only had it for a week. I looked through it and then I was like, you know what? This is something that I eventually want to do. So let me start learning about the industry right now. So I registered for that expo, booked my ticket, booked the hotel, and I went. I found a way to actually attend the conference for free.
How
And
was
I went to the conference.
that?
You volunteer for a day, and you could attend the conference for free.
Oh, wow.
So I picked, yeah. So I chose a day where there weren't that many seminars that I wanted to attend, which was that Sunday, and I ended up attending the conference for free and getting a whole lot of information. And I went to that expo for 3 years straight. And then whatever other expo they recommended, I had went. So for like, I think 3 or 4 years, I was going back and forth to LA, learning about,
Damn.
TV writing, learning about screenplay writing, learning about, interacting with directors and producers. I got to meet Antoine Fisher at one of the conferences that I went to, I got to meet. You remember the show? I don't know if you remember the show, Reno 911.
Yes.
I got to meet the creators of that show. I got to meet writers who wrote for In Living Color.
Wow.
So yeah.
Damn. So how much of a role did those interactions and that networking and that opportunity play into your journey?
It played a great deal. Making connections and, still people checking up on you to make sure you're still trying to do what you still trying to do what you want to do, or you're still going in that direction. It's like, look, if you have a question, you can always reach out. So it's like, anytime I can reach out if I have a question. It's like, yeah. Like, yeah. You sure about that now?
Right.
So it's like, yeah. So it's just like, okay, well, what do I need to do now? Do I need to do this, or should I do this? So yeah, it's played a great role, a huge role. So it's like, I'm creating that show. I'm almost ready. It's almost done.
It's almost done.
So yeah.
So,
Just didn't want, like I said, just didn't want to stick to books.
right.
Didn't want to stick to novels. Didn't want to stick to poetry. Eventually, I want to branch out. I want to create a TV show. Maybe perhaps turn one of those novels into a movie.
Absolutely.
I have the knowledge. I have resources. So,
Now you just got to do it.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm about to say that you just got to do it. You know what I mean? So you also wrote in nonfiction. What was the inspiration behind writing those books? Because obviously we know with nonfiction and sharing some of these stories, it's a place of vulnerability for some people. So what was the inspiration behind those stories and those books, I should say?
Just the poems, sharing my poems with other people, and then going to do open mics, and then, having people come up to me and say, you know what, I've experienced that. I've gone through this. It's kind of my way of letting people know, look, we all go through crazy things. You're not the only one that goes through it. I went through it. Either I went through it or I'm still going through it. So it's just me being open, me being vulnerable to my readers, letting my readers know who I am and why I write what I write.
What was your first open mic performance?
My first open mic performance was at a lodge. They had like a little show, and some of the people there knew that I wrote. So they were like, can you write something and perform and just, recite it? I'm like, they got me on the spot. Okay, give me a minute.
Oh, like right there?
Give me a minute. Yeah, like right then and there.
Man.
And so it was just like, okay, just give me a minute. And I would write something and be like, okay, I'm ready. And I would write. And then people would actually come up to me and be like, well, can you write something for me? And it's just like, okay, let's have a little conversation. And I would have a conversation with that person and then kind of just go off of what they told me. I've written poems for people getting married.
It's crazy.
I would write it and then have it framed for them as a wedding gift. And then like a lot of times people would put me on the spot to like write something. It's just like, oh, really? Right now? Just give me a minute. Let me think. What am I going to
Right.
willing to share?
That's crazy.
What am I willing to share with you? And then after that, I actually found out about an open mic where I was able to prepare in advance and then go there. And I'm one of those people, I have to write. I'm not one of those, I love them and I admire what they do, the spoken word artists, when they just go up there and they just freestyle and give it to you raw.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
Right.
For me, I have to write and then be like, okay, let me pull it up right quick.
Yeah.
Let me pull it up right quick.
Was there ever a moment of like nervousness, that feeling with like your first couple performances, or were you just a natural performer?
I'm always nervous. I'm, I'm not even gonna lie. Like my mom would accompany me and I was like, Mommy, come sit in the front, please. All right, have my mom sit in the front, and just having my mom sit in the front, I'm good. But like, I guess once I get into it, I get calm and I just can go. But I have to have my mom there. I have to have somebody close to me there sitting in the front. So it's always been my mom, like, Mom, I got the open mic. You ready?
You
Go.
ready? Let's
I need you in the front.
go.
Thanks.
We out.
Let's go. I need you in the front. Yeah.
So what was mom's reaction, or in your family's reaction, once you became this published author? Because obviously they've seen the journey since you were young of the writing. But what was their reaction once you actually published your book?
My mom has been my biggest supporter. I can remember working on Dreamtini and I, go in my room, close the door, open up my laptop or open up my notebook and start to write. And she would come, like she would call me and I wouldn't like get to her fast enough. And she would come to the room and open up the door and she would see that I'm writing. And she'd be like, all right, okay, it can wait. So she was like my biggest supporter. And then once I got the book published, she was just so happy, so proud. She actually, the local Barnes and Noble up by where we are, she actually got them to put the book on the shelf.
Oh wow!
The first publishing house, they got the book on the website, on the Barnes and Noble's website. But my mom, she made the phone calls, she made all the phone calls for me, and she got the book on the shelf at Barnes and Noble's, and she kept calling. I remember one day she called and she was like, "It's on the shelf." And I remember it was me and two other friends. Like we were sitting on the deck, and she actually got the phone. She was like, "It's there. It's on the shelf." Me and my two friends, we got in the car. We drove straight to Barnes and Noble's, and there it was on the shelf.
What was that feeling like? Shout out to mom, by the way.
Right?
What was that feeling like when you saw it?
That's a feeling. It was like, oh my God. Like, yo, that's my book. That's my book right there. You see that? That's my book. It has my name and it's on the shelf at Barnes.
Crazy.
Took a picture. We walked out of Barnes and Nobles, and I remember just raising my arms up in the air like, yes, I'm on the shelf at Barnes and Noble. And then that was July of 2007. And then February of 2008, I did my first book signing at that same Noble.
Talk me through that. Talk me through that book signing. That was your first one?
It was the first one.
Talk me through that moment. What was that moment like? Preparation and all. I want to know.
Okay. So you have to talk to the manager. They set up a date. They, kind of figure out when you can do it. And since Dreamtini is a romance novel, of course, February, Valentine's Day, we did it in February. We got there early. I think the book signing started at maybe like 7. So we were there maybe 6:30, a half hour before, they had the chairs all set up in the center of the store, and then there was a table. The table, I had gift bags. I had a little podium. There was well over 15 people, more 15, 20 people
Dang.
there that came in. They brought the book, signed. I signed the book for people. I gave them little gifts. Um, I read an excerpt out of the book, and the whole time inside, I'm just like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Like, I'm legit. Like right there,
Right. Legit.
I was legit. Right, I was legit right there. Hometown, Barnes and Noble. I'm giving autographs, signing my own books, giving people thank you gifts. That was an experience. Something I can't, I won't ever forget. That having my two kids, then Barnes and Noble's book signing. That's how it goes.
It's up there.
Yeah, it's up there.
Signing your book. I always wondered this. Was that first one, was that the weird feeling for you? Because we grew up in the era of like where autographs were still a big thing. So was that
Yeah.
like weird to you at first once you realized like somebody actually wants my signature in the book? You know what I mean? They want it personalized. So what was that like? What was that moment like when you first realized that hey, that was like a thing? Like you got to sign a book, basically autographing. You know what I mean? Your work for somebody.
Okay, remember I said I like to write. And
So you're loving the moment.
Me writing my name on a piece of paper 100 times was me actually practicing my autograph. So I was ready for that moment. And for somebody to be like, okay, well, you have to sign my book. Oh, no problem.
I was waiting for you.
No problem.
I was waiting for this moment.
Waiting for you to ask. I have a special pen. No. I got a pen. I have a special pen just for this.
That's crazy.
I have a special pen. Yes. Like no need to get a pen. I'm already ready.
I'm ready.
I have it. I like my medium ballpoint, so I got it. I'm good.
What is one tip you give an aspiring author right now?
Keep writing. Don't stop. Somebody wants to read what you've written. Somebody wants to read your story. So don't stop. Keep writing your story until you feel that you're ready to put it out there. And don't be scared to put it out there. But sometimes, for me, it's just like, who's going to read it? Anybody going to read it?
Right.
Anybody going to like it? But you know what? You got to get over that fear and just do what you do and put it out there. And somebody will read it.
Somebody gonna read it.
Somebody gonna read it. And somebody gonna be like, I read this book by this person, which was a pretty good book. I recommend you read it.
Yep. Now this independent author journey, as most people know, you are everything. You got to find all your editors, designers, do your marketing, do your promotion, everything. So how has the publishing journey been for you so far?
So far, I have no complaints. It's been pretty good. And there are tools out there for us as far as creating our book covers. And for me, knowing people, knowing that I can go to a teacher and be like, can you read this for me, please? What do I need to take out? What do I need to change? And just having control. The marketing and promoting actually is the hardest part. But once you kind of maneuver it and you understand it, then it's easier. It becomes easier. You just have to know what works best for you. How you market and promote, you have to know what works best for you. Newsletters might work better than, being on social media. Social media might work better than sending out a newsletter. Word of mouth might even work better than newsletters and social media.
Right.
It's just, kind of putting yourself out there, finding different things, different outlets that you can use that will get you out there. Because even sometimes with social media, it's like you have to put up content. Sometimes you don't want to do it. Sometimes you don't. I can get on social media and just be on social media just for fun and not want to put anything that I'm working on.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
On it. But now it's like, okay,
like
I have to. I'm working on something new. I have to. And so it's like, with this pandemic, I've been able to kind of revamp marketing and promoting, come up with a different plan. And hopefully this plan will work with what I used before. I used a newsletter and word of mouth.
Oh, that was your method?
Like, okay. Yeah. And every now and then I would put something up on social media.
Every now and then.
And now it's like, every now and then I would put up something on social media. But now I have a calendar where it's like, okay, boom. On this day, this is what's going to go up. On this day, that's going to go up. And then
you got a plan.
Yeah, I have a plan. Before it was like I was kind of winging it, but now I have a plan.
Right. Which is not easy.
Because again, it's not. And it's just like, finding people that you really trust to see your vision through. Sometimes it's hard. It's just like, okay, I don't know. You say you understand, but you're looking at me like you don't. You're saying yes, but you're looking like, yeah, I don't. So you know what? I'll just do it myself. I'll do it myself. I got it.
Right. Now, did you create your covers for your book?
Yeah. Yep.
Nice. What was that process like?
Yes, I did. At first, it was like, oh, I don't want to do this. Can I find somebody to do this for me? But I have this vision, so let me just find what I need. If I can find what I need, I can go with that. And then it'll work. And then with follow-up, it'll go together. So it's like, with the two books, it's like I saw one picture first, and then it was just like, okay, well, now I need another. So how can I get something else or come up with something that'll kind of connect the two and bring it all together? So, with Dreamtini, you have the bride, and then with Dreamtini II, you have the bride who's pregnant. So it kind of worked.
Definitely did.
And then with the poetry books, I just used myself. It was like, this is about me, so why not use me? And so with Pieces of Me, there's 4 different images of me. There's 4 different images. And then with Simply Me, it's just one image. So with Pieces of Me, you got 4 different images, piece, right? And then just me, Simply Me. Now this next book I'm working on, it's finished, but now I got to figure out the cover.
Is that one a nonfiction?
I think that's the hardest part. It's a novel, so it's like, I think that's the hardest part, coming up with a cover that's going to catch the person's eye or their attention, and then make them, pick it up and be like, hey, the title, the picture,
Right, absolutely.
The first cover for the first edition of Dreamtini, the cover was a martini glass, and it had like the drink was blue and it had clouds in it.
Mm. So what made you switch?
That cover, it just didn't do anything for me anymore. I figure, the main character is 2 weeks away from getting married, so why not put that up there? Put that on the cover instead of
Right.
the drink.
And it actually flows because you got, like you said, the second cover, and you have the silhouette of her pregnant, so it actually flows with each
Yeah,
other.
because with the martini glass, it's like, okay, well, the second one.
They use the same martini glass.
Yeah, right? Change up the color.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, no. Yeah, no, this is what's happening in this book. So let this be what's happening in the first book. And so, like you said, it goes together.
Did you know Dreamtini was going to be a series, or did the book just take a life of its own?
When I was done with Dreamtini, I was just, the way that I ended it, it was just like, yeah, no, you have to come up with something else, because you can't leave the readers like, yo,
Oh, they're gonna cuss
what?
you out.
Like, yeah, 'cause I had, after, when people got it this time around, I had people inbox me. I had people sending me text messages. I had people calling me like, so, what's going on? Is there a follow up? Like,
Right.
yeah, it's coming. Don't worry. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. And then even with this one, even with the follow up, I'm like, I can write a third one, but do I really?
Mm.
So the way that Dreamtini 2 ends, it can end that way. But, for me to read it back, it's like I still have questions like, well, what happened to
Right.
this character? What happened to that character? Did these two characters? So it's like, okay, there can be a third book, but I'm gonna chill. I'm gonna chill for now.
Yo, people don't understand. Readers don't play, man. They'll be all in your inbox trying to figure out what's going on with the book before you even get done with it.
Yeah, because somebody was just like, well, I don't think these two are going to make. Do you really?
Right?
That's what you
Like
think?
you
Okay,
thought I was really gonna have a
okay.
combo with you about it.
If that's what you think, yeah, okay.
Right.
Okay, if that's how you feel, okay. They don't work. Okay, you're right.
Oh man. So speaking of Dreamtini, I'm gonna read the synopsis real quick.
Mm-hmm.
It says 2 years later and 2 weeks away from getting married, Missy receives a series of phone calls from an anonymous caller. This anonymous caller turns out to be her ex-boyfriend, Jerry. With curiosity getting the best of her, she goes
Mm-hmm.
to him and hears what he has to say. Over a drink, she finds out that he is no longer married and he wants her back. Wanting to forget about the evening and all that Jerry had to say, Missy goes home, one of her infamous Dreamtinis. Could this be reality or just a dream? Follow Missy as she tries to fight temptation and follow her heart. Now, for those who don't know, explain what the Dreamtini is.
Okay, so you remember back in the day they had Calgon Take Me Away, the bubble bath, Calgon Take Me Away. That's what Dreamtini is. It's one of those drinks where if you have a stressful day, it's a shot of tequila, a shot of rum, a shot of vodka, and whatever you want to add for flavor. And if you have a long day or a stressful day, you go home and you have that, and it makes you forget about that day. But one of the side effects is sometimes you don't know once you go to sleep, you sleep so hard that you don't know if the day before was reality or if it was a dream. So you wake up, you're kind of like out of it. Yeah, you're kind of out of it. You don't know. Wait, you ask yourself, wait, did that just happen? Did that happen or was it a dream? And then somebody reminds you, like, yo, for Missy, it was like, your ex just was here and, do you know he's in town? Did you speak to him? And she's just like, oh, so no, that was reality. But she's had so many that she's like, they don't affect her anymore. She's just like, oh man, I gotta stop drinking these. And so, it follows her, like I said, it follows Missy as she's 2 weeks away from getting married, and her ex-boyfriend is just trying to get her back. He's trying to make her, change her mind, like, either call it off or postpone it. And if we can, work out, then, we get back together and we live happily ever after. And so for the 2 weeks, she's just trying hard to resist, but they were high school sweethearts. They went through a lot together. So some things is like, that love is still there.
Right, absolutely.
But then when you get to the end, you're just like, oh, okay. All right. It's a weird ending. It's a weird ending that makes you have to read the second book to actually see what really happened.
Now, where'd you get the drink idea from and the name?
The drink, I just made it up. Honestly, I made it up. It's like, what can really knock somebody out? Tequila, rum, and vodka. Especially if you're heavy-handed.
You ever had it?
Yeah,
You ever was like, you know what?
Okay, so when Dreamtini was released, I had a book release party, 7707. And so for everybody that came, everybody was able to have this drink.
Oh snap, that's dope.
Yeah, everybody was able to have the drink. Everybody, people went home with martini glasses, decorated martini glasses. And so, so came up with that drink. Like I said, I just made it up. It was really good.
That's dope.
And so,
damn.
Gotta get creative.
How was the release party?
It was really good. It was really good. Like, we started at like 4:00 in the afternoon, and we ended at like 3:00 in the morning.
Oh, it was an all-day affair. Right?
It was. And it only ended because, we had it at my mom's house, and it only ended because somebody parked their car in the wrong direction because the cops kept coming through, wasn't saying anything. And there were two other parties that day, and those two parties got shut down, and people from those parties ended up coming to the book release party. And like I said, the cops kept coming through, and then they noticed that one car was parked on the side, but parked in the wrong direction, and was just like, oh, okay. But it was, pretty much an all day.
Man.
But it was nice. I had a nice turnout.
Did you have a release party for the second one too?
Actually, nope. I did podcast interviews for the second one. I did podcast interviews for the second one, and then with Dreamtini 2, I wanted to do something, but thanks to COVID,
right,
can't do it.
You can't
do that.
You can do something, but if it's gonna be at a risk,
yeah,
ain't gonna be the same.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not really not going to be the same. And in the virtual launch, it's like Gotta do a virtual launch. So
Man.
everything is a learning experience. You know, for me, like I said, everything is a learning experience. So with the next book, I know, okay, what I'm gonna do, how I'm gonna do it,
Right.
and what works for everybody. We're all accustomed to Zoom
What,
now, so
I'm about to say it's so normal now. That's
yeah.
so
Hop on
normal and
a Zoom right
convenient for
quick.
so many people.
Yeah, let's hop
Right.
on a Zoom right
Exactly.
quick.
Exactly. And what was the inspiration behind the book?
It was a short, like I said, it was a short story, and it pushed me as a writer. Because remember, I wanted to come out with, with my poems.
Right.
I wanted my poems published first. And since I'm not Maya Angelou or Sonia Sanchez, it was like, okay, let me go back to the short story and see what I can do. And so it's, it's what pushed me as an author. The author side, it pushed the author side. It brought out the author side of me.
Mm.
So it was just me taking a short story to see if I can extend it into a novel. And I was able to.
That's interesting because so many writers out there, it's so many of them that have short stories and they just have them either sitting around or they put them out somewhere. But you turned that into 2 novels. So what was trying to think of what would you advise somebody that's writing that has work to do to maybe extend a short story into something to make it reach its full potential?
Read it, then ask yourself, well, what would happen if? What if? How could? What, when, why,
Mm.
where, how, who? Ask yourself those questions when you read the short story and see where you can go see where you can go from there. Because for me, it was like I actually started the short story was actually the um, the wedding rehearsal dinner. And so I wrote that as a short story. And I was like, well, how did I get here? How can I get here?
Mm.
How can I get to this point? Okay, this is how I can get to this point. So I wrote the lead up to the dinner. And then it was like, okay, well, what happens after the dinner? And I wrote what happens after the dinner. And then when I thought I was coming to the end, it was like, well, people are going to ask, well, what happened? Okay, so now I need to tell them what happened. Now I really need to tell them what happened. So we went through all that to get to like the what happened. So you just really have to read the short story and ask yourself how you got to that point and what happened, what can happen after that point. And if there's still a question, answer that and make that, you know, a second book or a third book or a fourth book or however many books you need to make, however many books you need to write. But for me, it was just asking myself, okay, well, how did I get to this point? Because I mean, the short story was just out of the blue. Like, why am I writing about a wedding rehearsal dinner? Okay, well, now how did I get to this wedding rehearsal dinner?
Right, right. That's crazy. And your nonfiction book, Pieces of Me. They are your thoughts and your feelings and your experiences. Break down that title for me.
Um, it's just things that I've went through that contributed to who I am or who I'm becoming. Um, I had fun back in the day. I'm 43. So in my 20s, I had a lot of fun. And so in having fun, I learned things about myself. Like I experienced things that helped me become a little bit stronger at that time. And so it's just the fun side of me, the loving side of me, the sensual side of me. It's just pieces of me.
Mm. Now, in this book, you start off by talking about life. In that passage, you ask a lot of deep questions, such as what is life about? Were we given life to make an impact? Why do our lives change throughout the course of time? Why are those questions about life so important?
Yeah, I think back to the frame of mind I was in when I wrote that. I think for me, I was going through something and I just didn't understand. So it's like, what is my life? Like, what am I supposed to do with my life? Why am I here? Like, am I supposed to make an impact on somebody else's life, or am I just supposed to try to make an impact on my own life?
Mm.
I was just kind of, I guess I was at that point to where it was just like I was just questioning everything that I was doing. Like, am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? Like, what is it that I'm supposed to be doing? Like, I didn't know. I guess I was just trying to figure out my purpose, and those were the questions that I had to ask myself in order to figure out what my purpose was. I think did I have? No, I had okay, so it was, that was 2000. Okay, so I wrote that 90, 98. I wrote that in 99.
Mm.
Yeah, I wrote that in 1999. And then 2 years later, I had a dream. And in the dream, I heard somebody crying. I'm always the type of person, if I see that there's something wrong with you and I can just sense that there's something bothering you, I'm going to ask you what's wrong and try to help you figure out how you can make whatever the situation is better. And I remember having a dream. In the dream, I heard a female crying. And I got up and I walked in the direction where I heard the crying coming from. Nobody was there. Crying stopped. It happened like 3 times. And then all of a sudden, my body started jerking. And my head, in order for me, I couldn't get up. The fourth time I tried to get up, I couldn't get up. And so I
Wow.
tried to move my head from side to side. And then my body started to jerk. And once I was able to like really move, I jumped up out of my sleep. And when I woke up, it was me who was crying. I couldn't find myself to help myself.
Dang.
Like at that point, I didn't know, like I really didn't know like I didn't know what the dream meant. And about like a couple of days later, I figured it out. It was like, damn, I can't even find myself to help myself. So something's got to give, something's got to change. And that's when I really dove into the writing and tried to get my poems published.
Mm.
I call it the cry. I think I shared that in Pieces of Me. I think, yeah, the cry. I think, yeah.
That's crazy. That's deep. I mean, that moment. Looking back now,
Mm-hmm.
everything you've been through, how much of it would you change if you could talk to your younger self, or did everything that you go, like you mentioned a lot, that these are lessons, and obviously with lessons, once we learn from them, it helps develop character. So how much of it would you change? Because I know there's so many people out here that are living life, whether they're young or whether they past those younger years and they're still trying to develop life. How much of it would you change? Because a lot of times we try to change ourselves when we can just build off the lessons. And it's crazy that you talk about the lessons so much, um, because you can learn from them. So how much of it would you change if you go back and talk to your younger self?
I wouldn't change anything. Just learn the lesson and move on. Whatever the lesson is that needs to be learned, take it and move on. Because it will help you. It will eventually help you along the way. So continue to do what you do, learn the lesson, and move on. But if you're not learning the lesson, then slow down.
Jesus.
If you're not learning the lesson, just slow down.
Just out here doing.
Yeah, you just out here. Look, there was a lesson to be learned here.
Right.
You didn't learn that lesson. Now there's going to be another lesson learned.
Right.
Pay attention. Pay attention.
That one lesson gonna turn into 3 lessons if you don't stop.
Exactly. 3 or 4.
Shh.
But I wouldn't change anything.
So what's next for you? What can we expect?
Well, I have this novel, The Tales of Kayla and KK. After I finished the follow-up to Dreamtini, I started writing The Tales of Kayla and KK. It's a bunch of short stories, and it's about a woman's sexual journey. And I was just like, okay, I'll give you these short stories, but then I was just like, you know what? I want to switch it up. The short stories. Okay, so Kayla is the person. KK is the vajayjay.
What the hell?
Yeah.
We out here naming
exactly.
it now.
So, but if the vajayjay could speak, what would it say and how would it describe the sexual experience?
Damn.
So the short stories are coming from 2 perspectives.
Yo, I'm just trying to imagine like a conversation. Because sometimes those conversations ain't gonna add up. Like they gonna match up.
Yeah, it's like there's, like I said, there's 2 sides. When there's a situation, there's 2 sides of the story. There's her side and his side. So I was like, wow, his side is always going to be his side and her side is always going to be her side. But if the vajayjay could describe the situation, what would the vajayjay say, and how would it describe the situation? So that's what the Tales of Kayla and KK is about. And so I'm just trying to get the cover right. So it's about like 21 short stories, and when you read the short stories, it's not gonna. You have to kind of figure out who's telling the story, and it's kind of easy to tell who's telling the story. There's some stories where both of them they're both giving their sides to the story.
That's hot though. That's definitely a dope concept. Definitely a dope concept.
So that's, yeah. Like I said, I'm just trying to figure out the cover. I have 2 covers that I like. So I'm just trying to figure out which one I like more. And once I figure out which one I like more, that's what I'm going to go with. Hoping to release that in September.
Okay. It seems like your writing has a lot of meaning behind it, whether it's your nonfiction or your fiction. Is that intentional, or is that just your style?
It's just my style. It's not intentional. It's not intentional. It's just my style. I try to give I try to add a little real to the fiction. Give people something they can relate to. I mean, some, fiction stories you read, I can kind of understand where this character is coming from because I've been in that situation before, or I understand that feeling because I felt that before. I just
Right.
want to give them a feeling that they've felt before, that they're familiar with. And so, but it's not intentional. It's just my style. I know I've written things where sometimes I just write to write, and then there are times where I write so that, okay, I want you to feel this. I don't want to be the only one feeling it, so I want you to feel it too. But it's not intentional. Maybe it is intentional, but it's unintentional at the same time. So yeah, it's just really my style.
Now let everybody know where they can like find the book, find your work, your social medias, websites, everything they can do to get in contact with you and get your work.
Okay, so the Tales of Kayla, not ready yet, but Dreamtini, Dreamtini II, The Reality, Pieces of Me, Simply Me, they're all available on Amazon.com, softcover and Kindle. Dreamtini is available softcover through BarnesandNobles.com. Dreamtini 2 is also available on BarnesandNobles.com, but only for the Nook. If you have an iPad or iPhone and you have the iBookstore, Dreamtini 2 is available there. My website is www.dowdywrite.com. My Instagram @DowdyWrite. Twitter @DowdyWrite. Facebook, DowdyWrite. Yeah, Facebook.com/DowdyWrite. You know, I'm on Goodreads as well under Arnittress Dowdy. That's ARNITTRES Dowdy, DOWDY. Yeah, that's it. But yeah, all my books are available on Amazon. You can reach out to me on, like I said, on Instagram @DowdyWrite, Twitter @DowdyWrite, Facebook DowdyWrite.
Nice. All right. That was Arnittress Dowdy, and this was the Fiction Addiction Podcast. Arnittress, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us on the Fiction Addiction Podcast. Make sure you visit fictionaddictionpodcast.com for links on everything we talked about today, as well as awesome resources, additional tips, and fiction addiction merchandise.